Today, we're going to talk about something really important. We're busting a myth that causes a huge amount of unnecessary blame and stigma. It's this idea that when a couple struggles with fertility, it's always a woman's problem. But is that really true? Let's dive in and see what the facts actually tell us. So let's just ask it straight up. When a couple struggles to get pregnant, is it always the woman's fault? You know, it's a question that often goes unspoken, but for centuries, the default assumption has been, yeah, it's a heavy, completely unfair burden that's been placed almost exclusively on women. But is that assumption actually based in reality? Well, let's take a closer look. Before we get to the actual science, I think it's super important to understand why this myth is so persistent. Its roots go deep, and they aren't based on medical fact, but on something else entirely. Historically, most societies have placed the responsibility for having children squarely on women's shoulders. This created this powerful cultural bias that has literally lasted for generations. And then you add to that a simple lack of widespread knowledge. For a very long time, the complexities of male fertility just weren't discussed or understood by the public, and that led to a very one-sided view of what is obviously a two-person equation. Okay, so we've seen where the myth comes from. Now, let's leave those outdated assumptions behind and look at what decades of medical research and data actually tell us. And honestly, the truth might surprise you. And here it is. This is the reality laid out in the data. Just look at this breakdown. Factors related to men account for a massive 30 to 40% of cases. And for women, the exact same, 30 to 40%. It's an almost perfect split. Then you've got another 20% where it's a combination of factors from both partners, or sometimes the cause is simply unexplained. The takeaway here is absolutely undeniable. So the crucial point is this. Infertility is not a his or hers problem. It's an ours challenge. The data clearly shows it affects both partners, so the journey to a solution has to be a shared one. So if the responsibility is split, almost 50-50, what are the specific biological factors at play here? Let's take a closer look at the common causes for both men and women. All right, on the male side, you've got a whole range of common factors, from sperm count and quality to hormonal imbalances and even lifestyle choices like smoking or obesity. For women, we see conditions like PCOS and endometriosis, issues with ovulation, and, of course, the natural decline in fertility with age. Both of these lists are significant, which just highlights how complex this really is for everyone involved. Understanding the science is a huge first step. But the next, and maybe the most important step, is changing how we think about and approach this entire challenge. It really is time to reframe the conversation. This right here, this is the shift in perspective we all need. Think of it this way. Infertility isn't a personal failure or something to assign blame for. It's a shared medical challenge. And reframing it that way is so crucial because it moves the focus away from blame and isolation and towards teamwork and support, which, let's be honest, makes all the difference when you're navigating this journey. So what does this team approach actually look like in practice? Well, first, evaluate together. From day one, both partners should be part of the medical evaluation. Second, talk openly about lifestyle. Things like diet, exercise, and certain habits affect both male and female fertility. And third, when it's time to explore treatments, whether it's IVF or other options, you approach it as a joint decision. It's a path you walk together as a team. The old myth of infertility being just a woman's problem is exactly that, a myth. The reality is that it's a human challenge affecting men and women almost equally. Breaking down that harmful stigma, it all starts with sharing the facts, having open conversations. It starts with awareness. And that awareness, it changes everything.